All right, well, Norbert, appreciate you sitting down to do this. Obviously, some of our network members have gotten a chance to meet you as we've designed new product features in partnership with them. But really excited to talk today a little bit about some of the new litigation, or I should say mid-litigation settlement features that we've been rolling out. For those of you who don't know Kredit's business in detail, think of us as a clearinghouse for different debt settlement firms that represent consumers to interact with different collection agencies, debt buyers, lenders, banks, and collections law firms. And we work really closely with both sides of our ecosystem to understand what unhappy paths in consumer debt restructuring we can help make more automated and predictable. So as we've gone through, one of the things we identified this past fall was that when accounts unfortunately go to litigation because either a lender can't get in touch with a consumer or a consumer doesn't have the means to go through and voluntarily settle, those accounts become administratively much more difficult to find a happy middle ground on because the courts are generally involved and there's additional stakeholders there. So today, I'm really excited to talk with Norbert a little bit about how we went through the process of working with some of the law firms and debt settlement firms on either side of the ecosystem to make sure that this feature set works really well for both sides of the ecosystem, not just for collections law firms, not just for debt settlement firms. We really wanted to make this a win-win. For everyone who doesn't know Norbert, he's director of product over here, and he's really, really integral to how we build products, how we release those, how we engage our different stakeholders for input. Norbert, do you want to go through and frame the problem statement and the different considerations we thought about as we came across this problem?
Yep, and thanks for having me here, Dave. So basically, when we looking at what are the problems that we can address, we're always focused on making sure that we make the platform more convenient for all of our partners on both sides of the ecosystem. We ran across a situation with the collection law firms where they are very interested in offering the debt settlement advisors the opportunity to settle accounts mid-litigation, but the process for that is extremely manual and tedious for them. And so they've expressed interest in us presenting some options on what we can do to solve that, to simplify that process for them. And so as we went through the discovery, we made sure that we also solicited feedback from the debt settlement advisors who currently deal with this through various manual channels and threads, reaching out to the collection law firms over the phone, through email, and it's a long and tedious process. And so as we've captured the details of how this process works, we were then able to piece together a more convenient solution for them so that they don't have to leave the platform, they don't have to pick up a phone, write an email, and they can manage this process entirely through the web application that we present to both of them.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I think one of the other important things that I observed was, the court system in the United States is really a backstop, and it's a really important backstop. And the amount of time that it takes for the courts to go through and deal with collections lawsuits, it's really a drag on everybody's time involved. And there's very specific ways you need to do things, and there's a patchwork of how you do those different things in different states. So designing around that complication and making sure that all the different states can be supported in that is really important. When we went through and kind of looked at the feedback gathering there, what were some of the key considerations that really stood out to the law firms or to the debt settlement firms that they wanted to make sure that we got right?
Yes, so for the law firms, the most important feature was really the flexibility, because like every court has different requirements, and so we wanted to make sure we're not constraining ourselves to a strict process and giving everyone the flexibility of customizing the artifacts that are necessary for a settlement to be certified by a court. And so as we developed this feature set, we made sure that we provide as much flexibility as possible.
Yeah. And what about on the debt settlement firm side? What do the debt settlement firms want to make sure that they got out of this?
Yeah, so for the debt settlement companies, it was very important that they are aware of the additional steps necessary, and also on the debt settlement advisor side, there's potentially different personnel involved in handling cases that are mid litigation, and so this gives them the opportunity of engaging and filtering and focusing only on these accounts.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, the length of time that the process can take just administratively, because there's more paperwork to sign on both sides, so that different lawsuits can be vacated in some states, not in others, and those nuances, the timing to make sure that consumers have sufficient time to make sure payments get in on time through the debt settlement firms and things like that. That's obviously really, really important too, in terms of having that visibility and being able to manage that process effectively as a financial advisor. Well, cool. Well, listen, Norbert, I'm a product nerd. If we could get into some of a demo here, I think folks would love to be able to go through and see kind of what this experience looks like.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to bring you along the journey and show you how this looks like. Okay, so I'm logged into the Kredit web application as a collections law firm, and so the accounts that are in litigation really start with the internal systems and designations coming from the network member whose user this is. So they would specify within their CRM, what the status is of an account as it pertains to litigation. And so as they sync their data with our system, they're able to designate which CRM statuses are the ones that are relevant to the litigation status. And so if we go into the account section, we can make that visible, and it becomes visible to the user of the web application through the status column where we have, based on their own mapping of their CRM statuses, they can specify which accounts are in legal, which have already passed beyond that stage and moved into having a judgment, and then which of them are still just pre-legal, where now they have the opportunity to collect on those before it goes into litigation, bringing this front and available to advisors to know that there are accounts, these are not yet in litigation, and giving them the opportunity to address prior to it progressing to that stage.
Yeah, and really importantly, just to define kind of legal, pre-legal judgments, things like that. Think of the pre-legal as, hey, the bank has hired a collection agency to come in and said, hey, get all your paperwork together by 80 days in. We need to file the lawsuit and start working with the courts to find a remedy. From that point they file with the courts to the time that the lawsuit is completed, that's really the mid-litigation, legal status here. After the court says, hey, here's the court-enforced remedy, from there you have the judgment from the court after. So really, yeah, this is focused on that kind of like that middle ground after the lawsuit has already been filed and before the court has come to a very court-ordered specific outcome there.
So let me walk you through on the additional steps that we've introduced that help remove the complex manual back and forth from this process. So let's take this account, for example, where currently the negotiation status here is it's still awaiting the terms to be agreed upon with the counterparty. And so in this particular instance, we can see that through the the automation of policy enforcement, we're able to extend pre-approved offers to the advisor organizations. So debt settlement companies are able to automatically accept this without me having to go in and manually approve. And so the benefits here is as collection law firms will have different policies around what is acceptable settlement rates depending on the different legal statuses. Through the platform, we offer that flexibility of them being able to to set different rates based on the legal status of an account. And so in this particular instance, let me go ahead and accept this pre-approved offer as the debt settlement advisor, and then we can progress along the journey of what happens after that.
So as we're going through and a debt settlement firm is able to click in and access this offer in real time, Norbert, is it fair to say that that removes a lot of the burden from the collections law firm of having to send these offers out, manually one by one, and incorporate a lot of extra work in that process?
Yes, that is correct. And more importantly, when they receive an offer, that offer they can easily compare with their policies. And so that way, as they're determining if the offer should be accepted or declined, if the advisor chooses to propose something that isn't already pre-approved, then they can conveniently compare and see how far off that is from their policy, and if they have the flexibility to accept or they have to turn it down.
Got it. Okay.
So in the meantime, we've seen that the advisor successfully came through and accepted the pre-approved offer. So the settlement has now moved past the acceptance of terms to the authorization step. And so when an account is in a legal status, then the additional authorization steps are necessary. And so the collections law firm can conveniently access that through the simplified steps here. So it all starts with the collections law firm crafting the agreement. Now, of course, this is where the flexibility comes into play, where the formats and contents of the document will vary depending on different needs. And so currently this is a process for all of these law firms where they generate a document, and so they need to be able to then share that document with the advisor. And so through the platform, they can conveniently generate the document through their own standard means, how they've been doing this forever. And then once they have that document, they can upload it to the platform. Now, the beautiful thing here is if there are multiple documents required, so they can upload as many documents as they like. But most of the feedback we received is like, yep, we just do one settlement agreement that we need to upload so that the consumer can sign it. And so once this document is generated and uploaded to the platform, then the legal user can conveniently share the document. They can confirm, yes, this is the right document, and then share it with the advisor. So at this point, the advisor now receives a notification. And then once they receive that notification, then they know that they are able to progress with the next steps. And so as the advisor receives this document, they will then go and reach out to the consumer and solicit a signature for this document. And so as they work through that, every advisor will have different turnaround times here, but as soon as they receive that document back from the consumer, then they will go ahead and upload that document. And then once that document is uploaded, then they can sit back and wait on the litigation law firm to accept and move forward. So I will now demonstrate how that looks like. So now we can see in our litigation tracker that the next step is on me with this particular account, so I can pull it back up and then go into the authorization to see that I have successfully received this document. And so now I just need to download, and then once it is downloaded, I can double check and see the contents, make sure everything looks good. And then once everything is sufficient and this document is acceptable, I can simply confirm receipt. Now, this is the document that I then can take to the court and then request the court to certify this document. And so, again, this will largely depend on the courts we work with, but then once the court returns the document, then I can conveniently upload it. Once the document is successfully uploaded, I have the convenience to share it back with my counterparty. And then once the certified document is uploaded, the settlement is now considered complete. Now, of course, throughout this journey, we can see what this looks like when this agreement went into effect, and then what are all the payments that are required to be made. And then, of course, as these payments come in, we have the convenience of just checking them off and marking them as received, or potentially doing the opposite and drawing attention to the advisor that the payment has not yet come through. But that's maybe something we can talk about the next time in more detail.
Cool. Yeah, I think one of the other really specific things that we noticed through the design process was the importance of being able to, like, during each of those 3 steps, go back and rewind each step and recomplete it. Just because, if you upload the wrong documents, you can restart and things like that. So those different things, just taking a analog process of passing back, and forth different documents and taking that and putting it to a digital process it's low hanging fruit, but it matters, and it takes up a lot of time in both sides of the ecosystem. So we're really glad that this is able to be a capability that is kind of core competency for us as we really aim to include all the different debt collection law firms in the United States in the ecosystem for different financial advisors and consumers to be able to interact with smoothly. So, Norbert, appreciate your time and walking through this with everybody. I'm sure if anyone has questions afterwards or comments, they can get in touch with you. But thank you for the time today.
Thank you for having me, Dave.